For thousands of years, a legend has remained hidden.
There's this one night I can remember, where at night, all you could hear were the howls and the screams that just came echoing from the woods.
Of a beast that only lives in folklore.
I turned around, and that's when Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it, walked out of myth and into reality.
A creature believed to be the missing link between humans and apes.
I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that what I was looking at that day was not a human.
Are these animals real or a part of our imagination? Find out right here on Sasquatch Diaries.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Diaries podcast. I am your host, Gus G. This week, we got probably one of the coolest guests we've ever had on our show. We have Ed Reyes, who is the ex-guitarist for the punk rock band Taking Back Sunday. So for all you punk rock fans out there, this one's for you, and we have got just a wicked show to show you guys. But let's jump right into it. Eddie, are you there?
Hi, my name's Ed Reyes. I am the founding member and former member of the band Taking Back Sunday. Right now, I am, I guess you could say I'm retired, enjoying raising my kids right now on my own.
Wicked man. Thank you so much for coming out. It's not every day we have a rock star on Sasquatch Diaries, so this is wicked.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan, so that's why I think I reached out to you a while ago.
Yeah, and we're glad we could make this work, Eddie. So thanks again for being here. So we're just gonna jump right into it. Basically, like, why don't you tell us how you got into Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it? How'd you get into that?
Oh man, I just I don't know. I think I've always been into, ever since I was a kid, I've always been into the idea of there are things that live in the woods, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad used to take us camping all the time upstate in sometimes New York or up in Vermont. And I guess it all started, I guess you could say I saw with my very own eyes, and to this day, the memory never goes away. I saw with my very own eyes. I saw Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them. And it's like forever burned like into my brain, even though my dad keeps trying to tell me, well, my dad passed away. But he used to always say, it was just a bear, buddy. But he would wink at me every time he said that, because I think he said that he didn't want me to look silly talking about it.
Wow.
So, do you want me to tell you a story or?
Yeah, please. Yeah, lay it on us. We'd love to.
We were up in Lake Bommiston. It's up in lower Vermont border, New York. And we were fishing.
How long ago was this?
Ooh, I was 9.
Okay, so you were a kid, but you weren't like a toddler. You weren't like a 4 or 5. You were like almost a teenager. So you
I was 9. I remember I was 9 going on 10, because it was like mid-October. And my dad was straight off the boat from Colombia, but loved the wilderness, so it didn't matter where we were. We were going to go out into the woods. We were going to go. So he would take us camping. And so anyway, yeah, so we were fishing. We're like avid fishermen. So we were like, it was weird. It was like a nook in the lake, like kind of like went into like a little, like a nook, like you had to walk back into like a little creek area. So we were fishing. We were trying to do some trout fishing. And my dad said to me in Spanish, whatever you do, don't jump, don't move, but look over your right shoulder. And I looked over my right shoulder. I remember this clearly. And about, I'd say 60, 70 yards, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
about No, about 60 yards. There was this light brown thing squatted down on the edge of the water in the stream, like kind of washing something. So I just thought it was funny, or maybe it was somebody like trying to be funny or something like that. But it stood up and looked at us, and then turned around and walked back in the woods.
Wow.
And I said to him, I said, Dad, that's was that a bear? And he goes, yeah, I think so. And I'm doing an interview. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go into another room.
No worries.
My family's like walking around me.
It's all good, man.
Yeah. So can you still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So so I said, was that a bear? And my dad said, sure, yeah, a bear. And I said, Dad, bears don't get up and walk back in the woods like that. I was like, what the hell was that? Did we just see Bigfoot? And my dad laughed, and he said, no, but just respect the things around you, and they'll respect you. That's what he always told me.
Mm-hmm.
So later on that night, we went back to the campground and barbecue and all that, and we just talked about it. He said, there are things out there that, he's like, growing up as a kid in Colombia, there are things in the Amazon that people wouldn't know exist, but they're there. So you just have to understand that we share this world with other things, and we just need to respect them. And I said, okay. So then we never really talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older and I got more into the paranormal, of course, dealing with haunted houses and all this crap and craziness in my life. And then touring around the world in a band, and then just thinking about seeing something in the woods or something, like when I'm up in Canada or whatever. It never happened again, which I think one other time out in the woods, we were hiking, I think, but it could have been anything. It was just a rank smell, just a horrible smell in the air. But that was my only, ever since then I was a believer. Ever since then, people can make fun of you. People could say, it's not true. No, it's true. It's really there. I truly, honestly believe it's really there.
Yeah.
There's just too much. Yeah, like there's no body, there's no bones, but there's plenty of other evidence, and now it's getting closer and closer. And I just think that it's an extremely intelligent, bipedal, person like us just went the other way on the family tree, and just wants to be left alone.
Yeah, totally. And it's one of those things that we just, as human beings, we just got to respect. Like your father once said, it's just like, you just respect them and they'll respect you. You leave them alone, they won't bother you, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
Our mission here at Sasquatch Diaries is to let people know that, this is a safe space where they can come and share that information, because there's a lot of people, like you said, your dad kind of shrugged it off or tried to, at least, as a bear, right? And maybe he did that because, like you said, he doesn't want you to look silly at people, but what you saw.
Right.
That's the harsh reality of it,
Well, he told me once when we were older, and I said, hey, Dad, you still think that we would go camping millions of times, and he would make little comments here and there, but I told him one time, I asked him one time, remember, it was like later on, I was like in my 20s actually, and I said, Dad, remember that time we went camping and you said it was just a bear? You really don't believe it was just a bear? And my dad would just laugh and wink at me. He goes, well, if you really believe in it, then keep believing it. And I was like, all right. He was just weird about it. He would never
he never gave you a straight answer, kind of thing.
Yeah, because like my dad has seen some shit, and growing up in South America, and he was always cool like that. He wasn't like a paranormal guy, or we weren't always watching the Hunt for Bigfoot shows in the 70s or 80s or anything like that. But he was just, he had this level of respect for everything. He's like, there's such thing as ghosts, there's such thing as energy, there's such thing as whatever. And my mom would just laugh it off, because my mom was the opposite. She was a Jehovah's Witness, and they don't believe in any of that, which is really odd. But And then, like I said, I never talked to my brother about it, or my sisters. Like my brother, I don't think he's ever experienced it. My brother always makes fun of me when I watch shows or when I'm researching stuff online.
Hmm.
But, it was just something that happened with me and my dad. It was special. It wasn't my imagination. I know, I don't know if we're allowed to curse, but
We
I
try
know,
to keep it to a minimum, but have at her, man.
I know what the fuck I saw.
Yeah.
And it's there's no squinting or wiping your eyes. It was just like clearly, and he said, just don't move, just look at it, enjoy it. And I'm looking at it, and it's just sitting there cleaning something. I don't know what it was cleaning. Maybe it was fish. I don't know, but it stood up and it turned over and looked at us, kind of like to say, what's up, and
Yeah.
then turned and literally walked back in. And now the funny thing is, a couple of friends of mine, I can't say names, but
Hmm.
they're in other bigger bands. But they grew up in North New York, up in the northern area. By that area, one of my close friends is a drummer for this massive band, and he has a house right now up in the mountains, and he has them running around all around his yard, leaves them fruit. We talk about it all the time. I actually believe he follows uh, the podcast and all that stuff. But he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, my neighbor just moved because it kept breaking into his chicken coop and all that. And I was like, and I told him I was doing this. But there's a couple people I know that have seen, who believe in it.
Get out of here, man. That's wicked. That is,
Yeah.
and you know what? It just goes to show, because like a lot of
Yeah.
people, they see these television shows and they're like, oh, like I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and they were just going, how come no celebrities ever come forward with it? And I was just like, well, you know what? Like I'm interviewing a rock star, next week, and I mean, just from what you told me, Eddie, that blows my mind that there's somebody who's probably well known to a large group of people. We could call him a
Yeah.
celebrity, and like you said, he's a drummer for a huge band. That's just incredible to me. I mean, like, what else could it be at the end of the day, right? And I take it this guy, we won't mention names by any means, but he's seen them with his own two eyes. I take it, right?
Yeah, him and his kids, they're used to it. Like, I think his daughter leaves fruit out for it. He's like, oh, dude, it doesn't, it's.
It doesn't cause harm.
He's like, the funny thing is, like, the shows make it silly,
Mm-hmm.
but like, there really is a form of communication, but it's not the way they really make it out to be on the shows. Like, I'm not going to name shows, but there are some silly shows out there that kind of, like, I don't call them a squatch, and I don't call it squatching. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that stuff's just silly. It gets silly after a while. But it really is like, it's true. Like the wood knocks and the howls, the yelps. But if you like, the Indians said that if you always leave them an offer, they'll take it and respect it and kind of protect you, I think. And my buddy's like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel safe because whatever's out there living with us in our acreage or whatever, how many acres he owns, he's like, he's keeping an eye out for us. So I was like, all right, well, that's cool. It's funny because a friend of mine from another huge massive band, his daughter saw one while they were hiking like a week ago, and they called in the news in New Jersey to report it. It's like really funny. He actually posted it on his Instagram. But
That's wicked.
yeah. So, it's just I always had my management like, hey, if you ever get any paranormal stuff, I would love to do it, because they knew that I was like, I mean, I lived in a 200-year-old house and it was haunted as crap, like when we sold it, we had to sign a waiver that said, yeah, it's haunted, So it's like I'm just a believer in all that. But just the fact that I got to see with my own eyes, it's pretty cool. I think it's the only real extreme thing in my life I would like to see before I die, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
It just sucks because I really planned on going to a lot of conventions, and then COVID hit, and it's like nothing's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the same thing with us here. Like I myself, I moved out to Alberta, Canada, and I'm right on the border of British Columbia, and British Columbia borders Washington State, which is like the hot
Yeah.
spot, the hotbed for.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we pulled over in a truck stop one morning, like 4 in the morning, and everyone was asleep. And me and my bus driver were up front, and we were looking straight up this mountain, like straight up. I was like, "What? How much you want to bet someone's watching us?" He goes, "Oh man," he's like this old school country dude that drives, everywhere, you name it, forever.
Right.
And he said, "Oh man," he goes, "I don't doubt it because I've seen him with my own eyes." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Because we got this conversation about it, but it's just I don't know what it is. There's so many different theories that it's actually, really just an alien species that comes and visits once in a while, or blah blah blah, whatever, Chewbacca, But
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I'm just a real true believer. I mean, ever since I was a kid.
Yeah, well, and you've got the facts to back it up. I mean, you've got what most people would call an encounter, or a a Class B or Class A sighting, rather. Class B would be like a wood knock or a howl or whatever. You saw it. It looked at you.
No, it wasn't no blurry video, no picture from the far. It was mine own eyes. It's etched into my brain.
Yeah.
And my pop saw it, and it was there. And that's not a bear. Bears don't stand up on their hind legs, turn to look at you over their shoulder like a human would.
And then walk off on 2 legs, right?
And then literally walk off like 3 steps, like in 10 feet or 12 foot, like what would take me like 6 steps in like 3 steps. Boom, 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 gone. Like that. Blended into the forest. And I said, "Wow, what do we do now?" And my dad said, "Well, we finish fishing and then let's go back to the camp." And I went back, and I told my brother and my mom, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, oh okay." Then my mom winked at my dad, So I don't know. For all I know, it could have been my uncle playing a joke on me. I hope not, but I don't think so. It was too real.
Yeah.
Because I do recall one time my dad was intoxicated, and we were joking around about it at a barbecue, and he's like, "You remember that crazy shit we saw?" And I was like, now you want to talk about it. He goes, "Yeah, who knows? That's what I always got from him."
Gotcha. So you kind of pulled it out, like, that saying, the truth always comes out when you're drunk. I guess that's that's the case.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, right. But yeah, that's my story. I mean, I don't have anything else very exciting to tell.
No, that's wicked, man. We appreciate that. Getting back to the encounter that you had, though, how long would you say the whole sighting lasts? From beginning, right when you saw it, up until when it disappeared into the woods. About a minute, 30 seconds, give or take.
I would say under a minute.
Okay.
Because it clearly did not give a crap that we were standing there.
Yeah, and that's
obviously he was like, this is a younging and probably his dad, and they're obviously fishing or whatever it is in their brain. And he's like, they're not chasing after me or taking video. They just want to be left. I'm pretty sure that's what he was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
But it was it was really weird though, and I'll always remember it's the look it gave us. It doesn't look like a chimpanzee. It doesn't look like a gorilla. It looks like just a really big dude with a lot of hair.
And that's what I was actually just going to ask you, Eddie, is like, if you had to describe the face, like, were you close enough to see the face? Like, could you see it clearly? Or were you a bit of a distance away?
As far as you could see someone's face from 60 yards away, let's say.
Okay.
Like, I don't know how to explain the distance. Like, I don't know. You could see everything clearly, like clear as day. But it's very. It was, as far as I remember, from being that young to now. It was pretty more human than it was bipedal or ape or you know what I mean, or.
Mm-hmm.
It did have like a more I don't know how to explain it. And more of a muscular facial feature. Is that how you explain it?
Like high cheekbones kind of thing. Like he.
Yeah, high cheekbones. Like you know how I explain it. Did you ever watch monster movies when you were a kid, like Godzilla and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you remember War of the Gargantuans?
No, I don't. Like
Okay.
you're talking about
So
the
if you look
vintage
up,
Godzilla movies, right?
yeah, if you look up War of the Gargantuans, one of the Gargantuans, that's what you look like. Like that's the only way I can describe it.
Gargantuans. Okay. We'll definitely
Yeah.
we'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down right now.
Yeah.
Because
War of the
now,
Gargantuans. One of
okay,
the best movies, and it's yeah. So the lighter color one in that movie is basically what I saw, and I'm not just saying that because in my imagination, because I love that movie, that's what I saw. No, I'm just trying to describe it that way.
okay, got it. Okay, yeah. Now, when it looked at you, like, what time of day was it? Like, was the sun still shining, or was it kind of getting dark?
Yeah, no, it was between 3:34. I remember clearly because we had to be back by 5 to start the barbecue.
Wow. So if the sun was still up, it was probably just about to set or starting to set. Not even.
Yeah.
Not even. If it's
Not even like it wasn't that dark. It really wasn't that dark. It's summertime, it's 3:30, it's still bright out as hell. But I just remember my dad saying, "Hey, another half hour, we got to get out of here. We got to go start the fire." And I remember, and then so it was probably like 3:30ish maybe, if I can remember.
Got it.
It was Lake Thomason, Vermont, and it was it was crazy, and I'd never forget it to this day. And it's not like something I have nightmares about or freaks me out. No, I wish I could just like close my eyes and go back to that moment and be like, what else would I have done?
Yeah. It was like one of those things. It's like, man, I wish I had, my iPhone with me so I could have recorded it or taken some pics, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, this was the '80s, man.
Yeah,
that wasn't happening.
Yeah,
it's all up here. It was photographed in my brain, and that's another thing is that I've talked about it before with interviews, like regular interviews, like what's the craziest thing you've seen? And my band was like, tell them that crazy story about when you were a kid, and then and people are always like, no shit, really? And I'm like, no, really. And like when people try to joke around about it or say, man, but Bigfoot's not real, I'll look at them seriously and go, no, he's real. You just
you haven't seen him.
Yeah, just haven't seen him. It's just not yet. They're finding new species of animals every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just found that gorilla, that ape species that walks on his hind feet, on his hind legs. It's like they never thought it existed and they found it. You know what I mean? So it's like, what makes you think that couldn't exist in North America or anywhere? It's just, how can it exist all around the world in all different countries and all different people, all different cultures and tribes talk about it? There's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like, I actually wrote a paper on this when I was in university, and the funny fact about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever, is there's been sightings like all throughout history on every continent on the planet, with the exception of Antarctica. Because probably there probably are some there. There's just, I don't think there's too many people living down there, right?
No.
So it's mind blowing to me that this creature is walking around, and there's probably more people out there that have had sightings and have had encounters or do have stories or heard something, whatever the case may be. They're just too scared to come forward with it because they're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep it in the back of my mind. I'm not going to
right.
I'm not going to share it with anyone because I don't want to put my kids or myself through that and ruin my reputation.
Well, there is one other story I would like to tell you if I have time.
Absolutely.
But when I was still in the band, Taking Back Sunday, we rented a cabin on top of a mountain in West Virginia, off of this guy who rents it out to bands to write music. And the guy lives on the property on the mountain, just across the field, like in another house. His name was Steve.
Really?
And he I never talked to him about it ever. So one day, like, we rented it for 2 weeks, and we were writing that record, Happiness Is. It was up on a mountain. It was like the second to last record I was on. And he disappeared. And we were like, where's Steve? Because we needed shit. And we were like, all right, well, we'll just go down the mountain ourselves and get our own shit. So we went downtown, and I walked around, and I said, I bet you guys see some funny things up in the woods. And they're like, yeah, we do all the time. Why? And I was like, oh, nothing. Whatever. And we went shopping in this little market. It was kind of creepy, but whatever. I respect everyone, where they live, how they live, whatever, because I've been around the world a million times, so I've been everywhere. So you got to respect where you are, where you're at the moment, right? So I'm respecting them, get my stuff, and I wanted to ask them a couple questions, but, just when I made that comment, I thought maybe that's the response I wanted to get. So then we went back up the mountain. So we didn't see Steve for like a week. Finally, he shows up again, and he brought us some stuff that he cooked, and he said, hey, guys, I'm sorry I disappeared for 5 days, because his wife came over and took care of us. She's like, yeah, Steve had to go take care of someone at the bottom of the mountain. They're having a problem with something. And we thought, oh, okay, whatever. So when Steve came back, I told him, I joked around about, I was like, man, every night I come out and I look into the woods to see if I see two eyes looking at me. He was like, well, why did you think I left for 4 days? He's like, my neighbor, her coop kept getting ripped apart, and I had to go down there and help her rebuild everything and keep an eye on her yard for her for a week to see if we could chase it out. And I was like, just talking to me like it was like a raccoon problem. And I said,
here.
And I said, okay, so then you believe? Because I'm a big believer. He goes, he's like, bro, that thing, it lives all around us, man. He's like, it's not a big deal. He's like, these shows make it out to be silly, but it's not a big mystery. Like, he's kind of like, he was this old dude, long hair, big beard, old rocker dude who toured around the world. He was like a stagehand for the Rolling Stones. So he retired and built this house on a mountaintop for bands to rent, And he freaking went down the mountain to go help his neighbor, and because she was alone because her husband was away at Iraq or whatever, to help preserve her yard, to make sure whatever's bugging her stops bugging her. And he was like, that's how we handle it here, man. They know when they're stepping their boundaries. We let them know, and then they leave you alone. I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty crazy. And then the rest of my bandmates just laughed about it. They're like, oh, he's just fucking with you, dude, because he thinks he knows you believe in Bigfoot. But when we left, we were saying goodbye to them, and I said, hey, man, that's really funny, but I hope that was true. He goes, why would I lie to you? I'm like, okay, all right. And that was I guess that's my second story of something freaky. And then my drummer said he was out in the deck smoking a cigarette, and he kept hearing, I keep hearing all these weird yelps. I told him it's Bobcat. Bobcats do that, because I don't want to freak them out. So, because Bobcats do make crazy sounds, and people do mistake them for, for stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I have yet personally to see one, I'll be honest with you, Eddie, but I have had a Class B encounter. So after I moved out to Alberta just in September of 2019, I went for a hike, because I just live right on the doorstep of the Rocky Mountains. So from my house all the way to the mountains, it's about an hour drive, give or take.
Right.
So I found this really great spot, and I had been hiking for about 20 minutes up this mountain, and it was starting to get dark, and I was making the wood knocks. I was doing all kinds of things, and I wasn't getting any responses. And then I was like, you know what? Something like you got that feeling, that kind of like that intuition, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna whoop or make a call or whatever, right? So I'd watched my fair share of Bigfoot shows and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, how hard can I be, right? So I whooped at the top of my lungs, and because I was in this like triangle of mountains, I guess it might be echoed into the valley and all that kind of stuff. So you can actually see this on my Instagram page, but I whooped out, and I got a response not once but twice, and it sounds like two different individuals. So one sounds kind of male, it's kind of like a and then the other one, it sounds female, it's more like And I was like, what the hell just happened? You know,
Right.
and that was, it was mind blowing to me. And I was recording it too, because I had this feeling that there was something was going to happen that day, and it did. You know, it was like kind of like it manifested itself almost, and it's there. And I'm, you know, people can say whatever they want, but you know, I'm going to go with that. It sounds pretty human like, and almost like a cross between ape like. And then back in 2016, I was a camp counselor at a summer camp in northern Arizona. And my friend and I were up late one night. And this is up in the mountains, like Flagstaff area. And this is an area where they're said to be sightings, and they hear them all the time. And we're just chatting. And then all of a sudden, all we hear is like just this like call at the top of our like sounded really loud. We heard it about 2 or 3 times. And I was just like, oh my God, like, Andrew, did you do that? And he's just like, yeah. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't know. Kind of sounds like a monkey or something. And I kind of just looked at him and it's like, you know, do you believe in Bigfoot? And he's just like, nah, man, like that's, it's got to be something else. I mean, it sounds monkey-like. It's probably just some kids. And we're in the middle of nowhere. This is the Arizona desert, right? Like, what the hell could be out there? But he kind of just shrugged it off, and I was just like, wow, that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like if you listen to all the different species of primates and all, they all whoop and yelp. They all have their form of communicating. So I don't see why that is not a thing. You know, like I'm really into that show Expedition Bigfoot, because to me it's like actual scientists trying to, I mean, it's also TV too. So you also got to remember it's also TV.
Yeah.
But the last couple episodes have been really, really awesome. I don't pay attention to Finding Bigfoot, because I think those people are really embarrassing and annoying. I don't know how you feel about those people, but you got people like I don't want to trash talk anyone. Not that I'm that important. But like people like dudes like the Matt Moneymakers or whatever, like they kind of make it embarrassing. You know what I mean? And silly. And I like watching the real documentaries and the real stories. Like, you ever see the one where I think it's called 411 or something like that? It's like
Missing 411. Yeah,
Missing 411 and stuff like that. Like, those to me are like the real documentaries, like the real, the real stuff. And so I'm giving this Expedition Bigfoot a shot, and I'm a fan so far. Of course, they're not going to find anything, or they're going to claim they saw something or whatever. But I don't know. I kind of lean more towards that than the silly stuff, And then what's his name? That comedian guy. I forgot his name. Bob Goldthwait. How do you say his name? Bobcat Goldthwait. I forgot how to say his name. He did that movie, that Bigfoot movie, and it was so good. It was a really good movie, and he's like a big believer too. He goes to all the conventions, so I follow a lot of his stuff in his documentaries. But it is what it is. I mean, I don't know what your belief is. I don't know if you believe in those characters in those shows to be like real researchers, or they just sold out finally and just gave their soul in. I don't know, but I know that I had my own experience and just all the other experiences in life, And I know people think I'm silly. I know that, like my girlfriend, I don't think she believes, or I have a lot of friends who don't believe in it. Like, people will make fun of me, but I don't I don't care.
No.
It's like, it's something that you see with your own eyes. It's kind of like a ghost. People tell you ghosts aren't real. Yeah, they are. Like, yeah, there's something there. So it's like,
you just let people kind of make their own conclusions in a way.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, do I believe there's a? Do I believe there's a rake? Do I believe there's all those other silly cryptids or anything? No, I don't believe in that. Do I believe in Chupacabra? Yeah, it's just an animal. It's always been like that, but people have to make it out to be something crazy to make it more interesting, But do I believe in Loch Ness? No, I absolutely do not believe in that. I don't believe in Champ or Lake Erie Monster or any of that stuff. But this stuff is real. I've experienced it, and I'll never let go of that memory, you know, and I'll take it with me to my grave, you know?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, man. Is like people are out there and they know what they saw. Like you, for example. I mean, for you to have an encounter and kind of someone play it off as a bear, it's just like, okay, well, you tell me how a bear is going to run off into the woods in 3 steps on its hind leg. You show me that, and I will give you that power. But it's not. You know, that's the harsh reality.
Have you ever seen a bear walk on its hind legs? Have you ever seen a bear walk on its hind legs?
Yeah,
You know?
but it takes like 1 or 2 steps at the most, you know, and it's like maybe 3 or 4 feet apart.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't look comfortable. It doesn't look normal to them.
Yeah.
You know, but when you see something that is completely like, what's up, dude? Peace out, dude, and like walks off like that, it's completely normal. It's not a bear. That's just the way I look at it. It's the way I take it.
That's awesome.
A buddy of mine, he was one of the head guys at Burton Snowboards up in Vermont. Okay. And we would always talk about it all the time. He goes, oh man, he goes, when you live up here in the mountains, up in the, you know, up here in Vermont and stuff, he goes, I don't think anyone here is a non-believer. I just think they want it to be left alone so they don't talk about it. Because you got crazies out there who are going to want to go out there and do something stupid, you know?
Yeah, and you know the biggest fear, like I think a lot of people have too when it comes to these creatures, that they're just like, you know, I don't want them to go out there and go hunting for it and shoot it and kill it. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's other ways to study these animals without, you know, us harming them.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what people don't understand.
If you got to dart them and get some samples. That's it. You know? But you know, who knows? I mean, maybe one day I'll hold a press conference and come out and be like, okay, look, see, ta-da, now leave me the frick alone.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame you, man. I mean, like, there's a lot of people out there that are just kind of, they're so quick to dispute it and kind of shut the people down because they're just like, oh, that's BS, all that's this, all that's that. And it's like, man, why can't you just have, you know, an open mind, for crying out loud? And that seems to be like the ongoing trend within the Bigfoot community, is people just like to tell people, yeah, I'm not, it's a bunch of baloney, but it's not, you know. How can you tell someone to their face?
What am I going to gain from it? You know what I mean? What am I going to gain from it? I'm already famous. I've already sold my records. I've already been around the world a million times. What am I going to gain from this? I don't have anything. I don't want a show. I don't want money. I don't want anyone to write a book about it. I just want to tell my story because of something that I saw with my own eyes. And I will hold forever dear to me, close to my heart, because it was an awesome experience. And, you know, just like, you know, people make fun of sailors about the Kraken and all this crap. And then look what's going on now. They're finding 60, 70 foot freaking long squid, you know? So it's like, you know, like I said, there's just so much of the earth that's not been explored that we think we have. That we know more about space than we know about the bottom of our oceans. So who knows? But all I know is this. How about this? I know what I saw. Mm-hmm. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's literally it. I mean, people are so adamant about proving people wrong. And I don't know if you know this, I don't know if you follow sports too much, Eddie, but I want to say like in May or April, they announced the new hockey team, NHL team that's coming to Seattle. Do you know what they called it?
No.
They called it the Seattle Kraken.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, it's a creature that's been said to be seen, you know, pretty close to the coast of Washington State. So there you go, man. I mean, you know, there's sports teams that are being named after mythical creatures now. Let's hope it's there's like, I had actually voted for Seattle Sasquatch because that was actually in the mix too. I thought that would have been a wicked
Seattle Sasquatch would have been so much cooler, I think.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like, it would have been, of course, it sounds terrible, but it would have been gimmicky and people would have been like catching on to it, you know. Yeah. But I was going to say something, but yeah, that's really cool about the Kraken thing. but I really hope if it does happen and they do find something, it's just leave it alone. It's like, and I don't like calling them creatures. They're beings, you know. They're just another life form like us on Earth. You know what I mean? So
I was
I hate
actually
when people say that. Like, I hate when I see those shows like Finding Bigfoot. They're like the creature, the Squatchy. You know, it's like, dude, come on, don't make it silly. It's not a silly thing. Have respect. You know, respect it. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to ask you, Eddie, too, like, uh, judging on what you saw and what you've heard over the years, because I mean, you've collected stories, you've collected knowledge of Bigfoot. You know, where would you kind of place Bigfoot into the mix? Like, would you say that it's like a human being or a type of human being that hasn't been discovered yet, or is it more like an ape or an animal? Like, where would you categorize it if you could? I'm genuinely curious.
Well, I think just like all creatures on Earth that cross the Bering Strait or have crossed the Earth um, through somehow, I honestly believe it's just, I don't think it's an Oranpendic or whatever they call that. Not Oranpendic. What's the big guy? The tall monkey?
Yeti?
No, not the Yeti. You know, the scientists say that there was a gorilla that existed. It was like 10 foot tall.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gigantopithecus afarensis.
I don't believe it's a Gigantopithecus. I believe Gigantopithecus existed, and I believe that. I just think there's like so many trees, like branches breaking off this the tree of like whatever species we're coming from, whatever. And I'd like to think that it's a cross between, you know, Neanderthals died away, maybe this species continued on its own path, and then we went this way, you know.
Right.
But I like to think that it's just a really intelligent, you know, more evolved bipedal, you know, ape like person.
Yeah.
Know?
Yeah.
That's just the only way I can explain it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it loves. I think it communicates. I think it loves its children. I think it has families. I think that it uses tools like rocks and stuff. I think that it's just like there's always a bad apple in the bunch because they're like, oh, some were violent. Well, yeah, I mean, not all human beings are nice, but I think they're mostly peaceful and they just want to be left alone.
And we got to respect that as people.
Yeah, I truly believe that.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. It's yeah. I got like, I'm almost speechless, you know, because a lot of people are just, oh, like if this species is going to be categorized, I mean, we got to kill one, or we got to find a body or something. That's like, you know, I agree with that, and I don't agree with that. You know, I think there's ways of going about studying these creatures without, you know, necessarily killing it.
All these crazy wildfires in the mountains in California, I don't doubt that maybe a couple got burnt and killed, you know, but are you going to find their bones? Who knows? But I don't know. I mean, I think like us, like, you know, there are certain apes that bury their dead. Like, that's proven.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think they bury their dead. You know, like that's why you don't find anything.
Yeah. No, and there's it's funny that you say that, because there was actually a television show on a while back, and this guy and I believe it was his girlfriend or something like that. They were hiking in the woods, and they didn't know that this was a predominantly high activity Sasquatch area, right? So they're going for a hike casually, and they see like the stack of rocks, like one on top of the other, and they're just walking, and they're like, that's normal, and they're chatting, whatever, laughing, you know, having a good time. And then I can't remember if it was the girl or the guy. She picks up this rock from this rock mound and throws it into the woods. And then all of a sudden they hear this loud crashing, bellowing, screaming, like a Bigfoot just came running out of the woods and chased them out of there. And they had just said they've never been more scared in their life. And when they got to their car, and they you know, they kind of let the dust settle over a couple of months, maybe even years, I don't know. Their theory was that that was like a gravestone, and they had just buried one of their dead family members, and they threw this rock, and it was kind of like desecrating a gravestone. And it makes sense. I mean, how upset would you be if someone went, and desecrated, a relative's gravestone?
Same goes with the Indians. I mean, we've disrespected their burial, grounds, and I mean, look how much you got to deal with all these Indian hauntings and all that. But it's like, I don't know. It's like, they have proven fact that some primates bury their dead. So I think they mourn. I think they bury their dead, and I think they just want to be left alone.
Yeah,
simple as that. I know I want to be left alone. I toured around the world, and I played shows and met a million people, and now I'm just like, I just want to be left alone and watch my kids grow.
Yeah.
So that's just how it goes, and I think that within the next couple of years, it's going to happen.
Like it'll be discovered?
Yeah. Like a lot of the stuff out there is fake. I do believe in I'd say about 60, 70% of it's fake, because people seek attention. But there's some stuff I believe that's real. But I think it's close. I think it's bound to happen.
Yeah, well, and I totally agree with that. I think honestly, within the next 10 years, I mean, it's 2021 already. It's give it until 2020, 2031 rather.
Yeah.
The technology has changed so much in the last 10 years, even the last 20 years. It's only a matter of time before we catch one on a security camera, or we've got drones now and all that kind of stuff. And I think
think about this though. Other than a few people that made some films in the 80s or 70s, or a couple of dudes scientists that wrote books, no one has really gotten into looking for a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. Like, no one's really gotten into that until the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Think about it. So, I mean, that's the only way I could look at it. It's like, other than a few researchers and a few books and a few documentaries, like now it's like everyone is doing it, so it's like bound to happen. It's bound to, somebody's going to, either have a rude awakening or have a very peaceful one. Hopefully like Harry and the Hendersons,
Yeah. And it's, I mean, once we do, I think it'll be great. We'll have maybe a display on for it, in museums or something like, some way or somehow we'll honor it. I don't know how we'll do that, but I don't know about the US, but here in Canada, believe it or not, there was a bill that passed the House of Commons, which is like our White House. And
I know you guys protecting it, huh?
Sorry?
They passed to protection, like a...
Yeah. And it was thanks to a guy named Todd Standing, who has been... I don't know if you've seen any of his documentaries, but he's got one called Discovering Bigfoot. It's on Tubi TV here in Canada, and I think it's on Prime Video. I don't know if it's on in the States, but honestly...
That's the one where he actually catches them looking at him?
Sorry?
Is that the one where he's videotaping them looking at him?
Yeah.
And like a lot of people say that guy's a kook and like he's yada yada, but I don't know. I think he's pretty legit. And even what's the name who does Survivor Man hung out with him.
Stroud. Yeah.
And even he backs him, man. Even he's like, dude, that dude's pretty legit, and even he's a believer now. So think about it.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been watching Survivor Man Bigfoot. I was a fan of Survivor Man before Survivor Man Bigfoot even came into existence, and he had just shared, like, he's been in the woods a lot. I mean, the guy's got a freaking show about it, for crying out loud. So he's probably seen his fair share of weird stuff and heard weird things. But he was like, he had a encounter himself in Alaska where he heard a tree get knocked over, freaked him out or whatever. And then when he just went to grab his camera, something just sounded like a train crashing through the woods. And he was just like, what the hell was that?
Well, he's got all that footage of him filming himself, and then in the background, up in the treetops, you see like 3 of them. So watching him, so it's like, I think he started doing that series for a reason, not because he was like, hey, how can we make this series more exciting? I think something happened, and that's why. That's what he said on the Joe Rogan podcast. He talked about it too, about how he legitly believes that there's something out there, you know.
Oh, definitely. And there's no doubt in my mind. And that's why I'm so blessed to be living in Calgary right now in Alberta. Because if I want to go and explore the mountains, I mean, there's a region where Todd Standing, that guy who's got the documentary, and we actually interviewed him a couple months back. The guy is amazing. Like he runs expeditions in British Columbia where he actually will take people out to an area where these creatures are said to be living. And he's talked about how one actually picked him up by his waist and lifted him up into the air and all that kind of stuff. And he has conversations with them, and he's almost built like a relationship with them. It's incredible to me.
It's funny because we can make fun of him and call him a kook, but deep down inside, this guy probably really has experienced all that. And it's just like, that's so awesome. You know?
Well, I mean, yeah. Can you? How many people can say they got picked up by a Bigfoot and played with or whatever? Like I've heard countless amounts of stories. I've been really into this ever since I was a little kid, and like basically the same thing as you. I've never had an encounter, of course, like you have, but it's just one of those things where it's just like there's no way in hell that people can keep sharing these stories, keep sharing these encounters, have pictures, have, footprints that are casted out of plaster, and hear things that go bump in the night. But it's kind of cool.
Actual dermal abrasions in the footprints, like have actual scientific, like people who study that, like who don't believe in Bigfoot say, yeah, that's something, you know what I mean? So it's one of those, it's just, I don't know. Who knows? Government conspiracy. Maybe they just want to keep us quiet about it. Who knows? But I don't care about all that. All I know is that I had my experience, and I believe, So, I'm not trying to. I like to go to the conventions. Yeah, I would love to go to a convention, but I'm afraid to, because you do have the kooks. You have the people who are really into it, and then you have the people who just need attention and, are making stuff up, and yada yada, and it's just that's I don't know. I know that it took us long enough to do this, but I'm really happy that we did it.
Yeah, and that's the same. It's all about finding that time. But we're just about to wrap up. Eddie, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. This is awesome. It's gonna be a fantastic episode, and I cannot wait to upload it. Before we go,
could you just send me a link to everything? Send me a link to everything, even I could probably just use your Instagram, whatever. Just send me a link to everything so I can hook it up on everything.
Absolutely, man.
I hope that I can get the opportunity again to do it because it was pretty awesome. It was a different kind of interview. I'm used to talking about music, but it was fun to talk about something that means a lot to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Is we just want we're a safe space for everybody, and you can also talk to your buddy too, who's a drummer, if he'd like to come forward and have an interview. We don't bite by any means.
I'm gonna hit him up. I'm gonna hit him up. I'm gonna text him tonight. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna try to hook it up. I'm gonna see if he wants to do it because I know he's like about it, but he literally he talks about it like it's no big deal. He's like, that damn thing got into the garbage again. I got to figure out how to put a lid on. It's just hilarious.
Like you said, I mean, he's talking about it like there's a freaking raccoon problem, for and it's amazing to me how some people can be so nonchalant. And if you get some dude like me or you out there and he's talking about this thing casually, people like, did you videotape that shit? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta get a camera out and I gotta see this with my own two eyes. Like, it's mind blowing. It's the coolest thing of all time. But then some people are just like whatever about it.
Yeah. Like he said, his neighbor just sold the house because he couldn't take it anymore. Like he couldn't take it anymore, so he wanted to move closer to the city. So he sold the house because he lives an hour north of the city
of New York.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so this is
Yeah.
upstate New York. Yeah, and I've heard
New
about.
York, up in the legit Appalachians, like that area, the Adirondack, or whatever,
Okay,
Blue Mountains or whatever it's called.
wicked. That's wicked. Yeah, no, we'd love to have them, and yeah, no, I'll try and bust out this episode ASAP, get it edited and everything, and I'll send you the links. And again, Eddie, thank you so much. Before we go, too, is there anyone or anything that you want to give a shout out to by any chance?
Oh, no. Just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's awesome, and it was a pleasure doing this. And again, I hope we can do it again.
Absolutely, man. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. It's like I said, it's not every day we have rock stars on here and sharing their personal encounters and being open about it. But we're just trying to spread awareness. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to force science down anybody's throats or anything. Just trying to show people that hey, man, if you've had an encounter, man, by all means come forward and you will be respected. If you want to keep your privacy, that's totally cool. If you want to attach your name to this interview, that's cool too. We respect that one way or another. We just want to provide a safe space for people to come forward, share their encounters or their sightings or whatever stories they may have, and know that other people can, and hopefully it'll kind of be like a ripple effect. Other people will feel comfortable enough to come forward, because that's what we want to do here. We're just all about kindness and respect and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Well, I guess I'll talk to you soon, and hit me up with all the info.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Eddie. Take care, man.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Sasquatch Diaries podcast. If you like what you heard, hit like and subscribe button. Don't forget to come back next week, where we'll have a new entry. And remember, if you or someone you know had an encounter and would like to share it on our show, contact Sasquatch Diaries podcast at gmail.com.